Homeland Security Committee. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I thank the witnesses for being here today. Urgent reform is necessary for the shareholder proposal process. What once was a mechanism for democratizing shareholder oversight has been increasingly utilized by activist shareholders to push niche policy objectives that do not align with maximizing shareholder value. This untethered activism diverts significant resources and management attention from fundamental business matters, thereby undermining market efficiency and discouraging firms from becoming publicly traded. Mr. Copland, do companies feel that they have to hold votes on certain proposals for fear of public scrutiny?
Yes, under the current rules.
So what are some of the ramifications that they're afraid of?
Well, things can be misportrayed in the press. The proxy advisory firms can treat these advisory or precatory proposals as effectively binding and vote against their directors. If the company doesn't act, if the board doesn't say, with our fiduciary duty, we disagree, they could be asked to violate that, or we're going to vote no on your directors next time as a proxy advisor. And they'll do that. Glass Lewis expressly does it when 70% of the shareholders vote no on the proposal. I mean, that's insane.
It's definitely insane. Goes after what these directors are supposed to be doing, what the company's supposed to be doing for their shareholders. Under former SEC Chair Gensler, thank God he's gone, changes to proxy rules made it easier for special interest groups to include politically motivated shareholder proposals in annual statements, reversing prior reforms. From 2020 to 2024, the total number of proposals grew, with environmental and social proposals on topics such as climate change, DEI, human rights, and lobbying, seeing a 59% increase and becoming a dominant part of the shareholder landscape. Mr. Copland, this is an obvious answer, I think, but is the shareholder proposal process being abused by these special interest groups?
Yes.
Yes. So I want you to go on record and talk about some of the examples that have for this abuse.
Yes, I mean, and I've pointed to these for years where, a shareholder will buy a small amount of shares, for instance, an animal rights group like PETA in Levi's, and talk about like leather patches on the jeans and get on the agenda with small amounts of shares on this.
When you say small, what do you mean?
A few $1,000s,
Yeah.
which would be enough to get over the threshold. I mean, if the thresholds go up, they'll get a little more. We actually found, we commissioned a study when Comptroller Lander's predecessor, Scott Stringer, launched his boardroom accountability project, and really, I mean, as Representative Velasquez said, the New York City pension funds have been playing politics for years with corporate proxies, but he really ratcheted up to another level. So we commissioned a study by Tracy Weidke at University of Tennessee and found not only a negative association in terms of share value with the environmental and social activism that public pension funds were engaging in, but we found they typically invested less relative to other companies in the companies they were engaging with. So they weren't really putting their money where their mouth was. They were buying enough stock in these companies, but not as much. So we've seen individual shareholders make a living out of this. I mean, the late Evelyn Davis was one of the early corporate gadflies. She used to make $600,000 a year selling a 12-page booklet to corporate CEOs, and you had to buy 2, and she charged like $650 per booklet, basically because they wanted to stay in her good graces. They didn't want her to target them. I mean, it's rife with abuse.
Absolutely, and what's even worse is I think a lot of these proposals, less than 30% of participation vote totals indicates that this is out of step with most shareholders. Switching gears a little, investment advisors rely on proxy advising firms to help meet their fiduciary duty by providing research, voting guidelines, and support for thousands of votes each year. While we can all acknowledge a need for reform, we must also take into account the costs that come with the legislations for advisors of all sizes. How can Congress, Mr. Copland, and regulators ensure reforms to preserve the independence and availability of these services without adding costs or barriers that impair advisors' abilities to vote for their clients?
Well, I think the colloquy we had with Representative Style a minute ago was instructive. I mean, I think they should be registered. I think they should have oversight I think there should be disclosure. I think there should be disclosure on the institutional investor side if they're utilizing the services, certainly if they're robo-voting the services, if they're just deferring to the proxy advisors. All of these things could help.
Thank you. I yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back.